All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe, and I have the great honor and pleasure to have the great James Montgomery, Jimmie, on the phone with me.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Always good to talk to you. I come off a little orange on these Zoom calls and stuff, but that little thing on my screen there we go. But anyway, good to see you, man. It's a pleasure. I always love being on your show, and especially the times you're able to get on there live and
Yeah,
have at it.
yeah, play. And last time was acoustic. You came in and you did a couple acoustic tunes with your harmonica, and we chatted. It was real nice the last
Yeah,
time.
yeah. You've been a staple for this blues community for so many years. It's guys like you and Holly Harris and a few others that are the glue that holds this community together. But anyway,
Yeah, well, we have to keep the music going.
yeah, absolutely.
So the reason for the interview, I just saw that the documentary that you've been working on all these past few years finally got its release the other day.
Yeah, it was a big thrill. It's called Bonnie Blue, James Cotton's Life in the Blues. That's the plantation that he grew up on. And of course, he was at 9 years old. He was an orphan on that plantation with absolutely nothing, not 1 cent. And to see uh, his career, how he came from nothing and became an international musical icon is quite a journey and one that we've been wanting to tell for quite some time. And making a documentary. When you see these people on the Academy, well, we've been working on this film for 7 years. It's not that it took 7 years to make the film. It said it took 7 years to get the money to make the film. So anyway, we had some tremendous donors and and it just worked out great. And we were proud of the movie.
So tell me about the beginnings of putting it together and getting funding for it and getting it set up. Tell me a little bit about what that was like for you.
Well, we've had this thing, the Real Blues Fest, for years and years, which you've helped promote.
Yep.
We've done maybe 20 of those shows with people like Robert Cray and Dr. John and Delbert McClinton and Coco Taylor, Dickie Betts, Los Lobos, James Cotton, Johnny Winter. The list goes on and on. So I partner with Judy Laster from the Woods Hole Film Festival on that. And the money raised goes to help healthcare for musicians and also for first-time filmmakers. And after we've been working together for years on this thing that combines music and film, um, we started wanting to see if we could, raise the money and make a documentary on our own with the under the banner of the Real Blues Fest. And she mentioned James Cotton, and for me, um, he was my mentor and my by the end of his life, he called me son, and I called him dad. So we came up with this idea of doing something about James Cotton a long time ago. We actually had a kickoff concert to announce it in Boston. We had Huey Lewis come in, Jay Giles, and Grace Kelly, Johnny A, Barry Goudreau. It was a huge lineup. We did a 5-camera shoot at House of Blues, and that's what got the ball rolling.
So tell me about your relationship with Cotton a little bit, starting out.
Well, at first I was just the little kid torturing him. Gee, Mr. Cotton, can you show him? Can't you see I'm busy here? It's the old Don Rickles line. He'd be talking to some young girl, and I'd be saying, "Gee, Mr. Cotton, can you show me how to hit a high note?" Excuse me. So I wore him down eventually, and eventually he came to understand that I had a band, and so we would do shows together, or or I would sit in with him. He would oftentimes call me up on stage and then play one song with me and then just leave. And then I'd have to kind of front his band for a couple of songs. Him and Junior Wells did that to me quite a bit. So it's kind of, you had to learn how to front a band like live in front of an audience. So we became really close. I think around the time my first record came out. I mean, up to that point, I was kind of a kid who knew him. But back in the early 70s, we started doing a lot of work together. And I remember there's one tour that I was a headliner and he was my opening act. And I made the mistake of watching his whole show. And then there's a harmonica player trying to come up and follow that. And at the end of the night,
Yeah.
James, I said, I'm going to keep headlining these shows. But I think it's best if my band went on first.
Wow.
Yeah, so we became, that's when we became really close friends.
So you learned a lot from that little exchange, I take it.
Yeah, I've always modeled my bands after Paul Butterfield and James Cotton. Even my high school band, I modeled that after those guys. I like the idea that they were just in your face, that they were just powerhouses. Cotton, it's between Cotton and Butterfield, the most powerful blues frontman. I mean, Muddy was actually, a really powerful guy because he was so charismatic, and he was Muddy. He was the guy, and he was the king of everything. So he could just stand there and have a certain amount of power. But in terms of generating that kind of power on stage, where the audience is just kind of bowled over, and which enabled the reason why you saw the two bands on the rock and roll circuit, James Cotton and Paul Butterfield, is they created so much power with the harmonicas that they could compete with the electric guitars of Led Zeppelin. It was unheard of. But Cotton's guitar player then, Luther Tucker, was a great guitar player, but he wouldn't have been able to compete with Led Zeppelin. And Cotton was touring with Led Zeppelin. And he was touring with Janis Joplin. But he had so much power that he could compete with those bands. And same with Paul Butterfield. That's why they were ones on the stage. So what I really stole from Cotton, because he eventually became probably the most versatile, what do you call it? There's a word for it. The most versatile, best harmonica player. There's a word I'm looking for. It'll come to me. But because he learned directly from Sonny Boy Williamson when he was young, Sonny Boy basically adopted him. Because Cotton had no parents when he played for Sonny Boy the first time, and Cotton's uncle said, he's got no parents, and Sonny Boy took him in. So the fact that he could play exactly like Sonny Boy, and then when Muddy Waters hired him, he told him to play exactly like Little Walter. So here's this blues master who could play two of the most fundamental styles to blues harmonica. He was a master of both of them, and then of course he became influenced by rock and roll and soul music and put his own spin on it. So in a lot of ways, in the words of Buddy Gal, there'll never be another one like him. He's a one in a generation guy.
So you were talking about energy, hot players with energy. I know another hot player with energy that played in Muddy's band, George Harmonica Smith.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was out. He did a brief stint out here a while ago with Viztone Records, I think, and they signed him, and he came out and he did a brief tour out here in the East. He was a West Coast guy, but just another really great harmonica player, and and you're right. He was kind of an imposing figure as well.
Yep. I mean, you mentioned the imposing figures that have played, and he's one of them. I know he's because I've seen video of him. He's scary sometimes.
Yeah, no, he was great. Like I said, I got a chance to play with him when he was on the Vistone label. He played the old Harper's Ferry in Boston, so I got a chance to go down and sit in with him. And he was a great guy, and we were label mates at the time, so it was great.
So let's talk more about the documentary here that you got that's coming out. When is it actually going to come out for the general public? I know it was screened the other night, but
Yeah, that was the world premiere. And incidentally, I had a world premiere about a film that I co-produced about my younger brother Jeff, who was a gay activist who was so effective. Excuse me. Yeah, what he did, that he was on the Aryan Nation hit list. That's when you know you're a good activist, is when the Aryan Nation comes into your office and starts shooting at you. But anyway, so it's a busy week for me. You know, I two world premiere documentaries. You know, but anyway, the cotton thing. We still have a couple other festivals where we've been accepted. The Providence International Film Festival, and then excuse me, and then it looks like we got a shot to get into Chicago. You know, we're approaching Memphis and Nashville, so we'll wait and see what other film festivals respond. But I imagine we'll probably end up in about 5 festivals, and then you know, and then from there, you know, already even after the first screening, we got a call from a film representative who would be interested in you know, taking this to places like Magnolia or IFC or any one of a number of streaming platforms like, you know, Hulu or Roku, you know, video on demand stuff on YouTube. So it's a pretty complex industry now with not a lot of money. So you have to kind of shop it around. But we do think we're going to have a bit of a festival run first.
good. So let's talk more about the documentary. You've got some local people playing on the documentary. Talk about how that
Yeah.
came about.
Well, yeah. And I will say that when I met Ross Angrell and Kirk, he was playing with the Allman Brothers. But it was so early in the Allman Brothers' career, I'd heard of them, but that was it. So I spent all my time with Ross and Roland Kirk while the Allman Brothers were on stage, which is kind of ironic because they ended up touring with the Allman Brothers 60 times.
Yeah.
But my point is to you, John, is that you said you have local musicians on there. And when Ross and Roland Kirk asked me what I did, I said I was a local musician, and he stopped me and he put his hand on me. He said, "There's no such thing as a local musician. You're a musician." So I always, when anybody says, "Well, you have local people on there," I guess they are local people. You didn't call them local.
I mean, in the area, people that
I know what you mean. I'm just busting you. You can say balls on radio. I'm just busting your balls. But anyway, that's not one of those words you can't say on the radio, right? Anyway, right. So yeah, no, I'm just busting you. We do have Paul and Annie Raines on there, and they performed the other night. They're such a great duo, and they, you know, she really embodies that old Sonny Boy Williamson feel. So it was great for us to get her involved in not only the film but the you know, the concert. What we're doing with the movie right now, as we're showing it and then having a brief musical interlude afterwards to kind of, you know, show the audience exactly what influence he did have. But Annie Raines and Paul Rochelle are in there. Jerry Portnoy is in there. He lives on Cape Cod now. And we have Cheryl Arena in there, who's just a fantastic harmonica player. And then, and then the little backup band we had was, was basically my band, all guys from New England, uh, David Hull, George McCann, Jeff Thompson, and Marty Richards. So, yeah, so we did have a certain amount of musicians who are based out of New England, which was great, and because New England has a extremely healthy blues market, matter of fact, we're doing a show in memory of Hattie Barrett, who was a big key figure in the music industry who passed away on June 2nd at the Kowloon. It's going to be an all-woman show with Diane Blue and Lisa Marie and their bands and Danielle Maraglia. And then we have a lot of great women sitting in, Elena Katz and Sandra Taylor. So that's a big show we have coming up too on June 2nd, where we're trying to raise money for the Hattie Barrett Memorial Fund, which will a good a portion that will be used for pancreatic cancer. So I wanted to make sure that we mention that show on June 2nd at and at the Kowloon all women show. It's going to be great.
You have a show coming up at the Bull Run on the 21st of May.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, over the years, that's become really, really one of our absolute favorite places to play. It's just, for some reason, the audience we get there is, we get a lot of wild people coming down there. We get a great audience. A lot of old fans. We had I was based out of Littleton for a little while. I had a house in Littleton on Forge Pond there. And so we actually got to know a lot of local people there, including some restaurant owner who, when I came in, he said, "Any chance you're Bob Montgomery, a rock star?" I said, "Well, my name is James Montgomery. I'm probably the guy." He said, "Bob, I thought so. I said, well, it's really James Montgomery." He said, "Yeah, Bob, rock star, man. I just, you're so great." And I said, "It's really James." He called me Bob one more time. So that was in Littleton. And every time I walk in there, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" The whole place. So I just loved it. But anyway, I'm just saying that because we've got a lot of great fans in that area, and a lot of people have stuck with the band, which is now, I think, 51 years old. So we love playing there. The food's great. Everyone sits down, has a nice dinner, sees the band, and we put on a hell of a show there.
You just said 51 years. Last time you and I chatted like this, I asked you about the 50th anniversary of the original James Montgomery band and whether you were going to do some shows with the original guys down the road. And you said, you never know.
Well, yeah, we were kind of planning on it before that. What was that thing called? Oh, yeah, COVID. I think that's what it was called. But I mean, that kind of set some plans we had back for a while. And of course, it kept my band off the road for a year. So, one of these days I'll have the 50th anniversary of the band, but it'll probably be when the band's 52 years old. But if I did that, I would bring in a bunch of the guys, because all the guys in the original band, Billy Mather, Chucky Pirro, Peter Bell, Peter Malik, and David Case, we're all still really, really good friends.
That's good.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see the original band back together.
It would actually. So, and every one of us, so far we're all healthy. So that's all good too. It must be because of that clean living back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, right. So another question about the movie, the Cotton movie. I know you have two of them you're working on, but did Cotton's family get involved at all in the making of the documentary?
Well, yeah, Jacqueline did, and his sister did. It was really difficult for us to maintain contact with the family in Chicago. For some reason, it's just it kind of they never followed through type of thing. But and of course Jacqueline Harrison Cotton, who was his partner and manager for the last 15, well, actually probably the last 20 years, over 20 years of his life. She's in it quite a bit because you know she kind of you know really knew what it took to take care of him and keep him healthy and run his business for him so that he wasn't getting the short end of the stick. So she was really instrumental in maintaining maintaining his career and his health in the latter days. So she's in it quite a bit.
And what did they add? Did they have photos and things to add to give you?
Yeah, we came up with a lot of you know, of course, just as expensive almost as making a movie is licensing this stuff. And we just got a final donation from one of the most wonderful people in the world to make sure that we could secure our licensing, which is big. Yeah, so and what was the question I got off in the licensing thing?
Well, yeah, you know, pictures and
Oh
licensing.
yeah. So we have a lot of archival stuff, you know, that you know, Cotton did these legendary somersaults while he was playing on stage, and we actually, thank God, we're actually able to find some of that footage and throw that in there where you can see this Cotton, this big, huge guy doing a somersault on a little teeny stage. But you know, so we had a lot of old pictures. We found this stuff, a lot of these contact sheets from Chicago, where there's pictures of Cotton and Junior Wells just hanging out playing harmonica together, and we got a lot of unbelievably fantastic pictures of a young Cotton, and then of course we got a lot of you know stock footage of what the plantation was like when he was down there. So yeah, the movies, you know, everything's pretty much explained not only in terms of the narrative but visually as well.
Video as well, I take it.
Yeah. We got a lot of great old films. It's really classic stuff. I mean, some of the old films of Cotton are worth the price of admission just to see those early films of him.
How about release of the audio for his music?
Well, yeah, you know, we did a 2-day shoot in Fall River, a day of interviews, and then probably a 4-hour concert with maybe 10 harmonica players, 2 songs apiece type of thing. So we've got a lot of tremendous live footage of some of the best harmonica players on the planet. And eventually, you know, we could see our way into, you know, getting a favored nations contract with all the people in the film, meaning that if the film did well, everyone would make an equal amount. And I think eventually probably we'll put that DVD out. It's like a harmonica player's dream. You know, it's like, you know, Jerry Portnoy and Rick Estrin and Curtis Salgado and Kenny Neal and the guy that does the blowouts all the time. My buddy. Anyway, Mark Hummel, you know, a lot of Cheryl Arena, just a lot of tremendous players on that. So we'll probably put that out. But in terms of an audio for just the Cotton doc, I don't know. We haven't thought about that. I think before we did that, we would probably try and put out the concert.
Well, part of the documentary, is there audio from his recordings that you had to get approval to use?
Yeah, of course, the stuff that was owned by the Cotton Estate, we didn't need approval for that. Most of the stuff we're going to need approval for is, films that were shot by, by other people that own the rights to them. Some stuff that was on, the Montreux Jazz Festival, that kind of thing. You don't have to get licensing for that kind of stuff, but in some cases, people have been kind enough to just give us access to whatever it is we're looking for.
That's great. Now I got a question for you. Back in 2018, you were inducted into the Rhode Island Music Hall of Fame along with John Chan. What was that like for you?
Well, it was really great because it's taken me so long to be accepted as a Rhode Islander. I've lived here for probably close to 30 years at this point. Yeah, I'm reminded of a story I read when I was playing up in Vermont. There was a woman. I was just leafing through the obituaries because I'd read the rest of the paper in some small town. And apparently nothing happens in that small town because there was no news that was reported. But anyway, the obits were in there, and this woman was 85 years old when she passed. And you know how Lebanon and White River Junction are basically the same town, separated by a river. One's in New Hampshire, the other's in Vermont. So this woman's family moved from Lebanon, New Hampshire to White River Junction when she was 4 months old. And she lived there for 85 years in Vermont. And the title of the obituary was New Hampshire Woman Dies. Anyway, so it was a little like that in Rhode Island for me to finally have them say, well, he's been here for 35 years, maybe at this point he's a Rhode Islander. So it was, it was exciting for me, mainly because of, fellow inductees, everybody in there. I have a tremendous amount of respect for as a musician and the careers that they've had. And, they have people from sound production and lighting people, the guy who lit Lady Gaga's Super Bowl performance was from Rhode Island. It is the most underrated state in the country, and we all want to keep it that way. Just let us think that that it's an out of the way place that because it turns out that it's just full of extremely creative people. It's extremely beautiful state, and like I say, the other people who've been inducted into that Hall of Fame, I have the utmost regard for. So in that respect, it was an honor. And John Chan and I are really close personal friends. So going in with him was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's something else. People don't realize he's one of those club owners that loves the music. And
Well, yeah, when I first moved to Rhode Island and started looking through the local papers, and I looked at this place, and 1 week Maria Muldaur was there, and the next couple of days Mose Allison was there, and then Jimmy Vaughan was there, and Leon Redbone was there, and I just remember Commander Cody. I just remember calling up my agent and telling him, "Hey, listen, you got to book me at a Chinese restaurant." And I never thought you'd hear those words come out of me. I said, "Hey, there's a Chinese restaurant. You got to book me there."
Yeah, and look what happened all these years later with all the notoriety that you've gotten from that.
Yeah.
Because of John. John is the guy that promotes it like crazy.
Yeah, he does. He does a good job. And here again, that's another one of those places over the years that we built up a very loyal following. We see a lot of the same people there all the time. And honestly, it's one of the things I love about the business, and one of the reasons I got into it. Because I noticed even in my high school band that you attracted a lot of the same people, and you ended up having lifelong friends, simply because of the fact that people came to see you play so often. They actually became really close friends where you end up playing their weddings and being invited to family events. And it's one of the really satisfying things about this business.
Yeah, the other thing with you is your connection to all the, I'm going to say it again, local people that play in the area, musicians. I'm going to preface that with some of the biggest names of people that have played in Boston and around the area. One being Christine Ullman.
Yeah, I love Christine and I started working together at some of these Shabu reunion shows, and just had a ball. And so every once in a while, when I put together like a super band or a band, there was a lot of different people to raise money for charity, where everybody comes out and works for a third or a quarter or whatever of what they would normally charge, and we all get together and everybody does a couple of tunes and we raise money. I started doing a lot of those with Christine, and now Christine and I probably do at least 10 shows a year, and I usually bring in some of the guys from the Uptown Horns who toured with the Rolling Stones and played with James Brown, and they're on all the Jay Giles stuff, and they're also the horn section on Love Shack. You got to appreciate that. So anyway, so Christine and I do a lot of work together. We really enjoy each other's company. We love each other. And, we talk a few times a month, and we do a few shows together.
You got a show coming up. That's what I wanted to talk about on the 13th.
Oh, which one is that?
Bridge Street Live in Collinsville, Connecticut.
Oh, yeah. No, that's I guess when it comes down to it, we just don't do that many nightclubs anymore. It's mostly concert work and theaters. So every time you mention nightclub, I go, yeah, that's one of my favorite places. Well, there's probably only 4 of them that we play anymore. But Bridge Street Live is a great place. Here again, there's another place we do really well. Now, this time, we're kind of flipping the script a little bit. And I'll be sitting in with Christine's band, Christine Ullman and Rebel Montez. So I will be her guest on that show. And but here again, it's just a great place to see the band, really enthusiastic crowd. And yeah, when we only play like 4 or 5 nightclubs anymore, so we're on a rotation where we only play so it's always a lot of fun, and we'll have a ball at that club.
And then your connection to all the other rock bands of the Boston area, Aerosmith and Jay Giles band, and all the people that you connect with along the way. You do things with them too as well.
Yeah, we kind of all started out around the same time. I think Giles got a couple years head start on me because when I was a sophomore, I would have been a sophomore in college. They used to rehearse in the basement of the building I was renting in Brookline, along with burying the remains. so I would go down there, in the middle of my homework at BU, and go down and listen to those guys play. And then, of course, I started my band shortly, a couple of years later. Aerosmith and I think, started right around the same time. But they actually were my opening act at a couple of college shows back then. But we all kind of grew up together, and we all stayed in touch. I speak to Tom Hamilton on a fairly regular basis. Joey Kramer and I talk a couple times a year. We had a band together, Joey and I. I don't know, about 10 years ago, it was a Kramer Montgomery blues explosion. So it was me and Joey Kramer and Jim Belushi and the Uptown Horns, and that was a ball. So, I mean, that's when I realized he's like maybe the best drummer in rock and roll. Steven Tyler is definitely the best singer in rock and roll, because I saw him go toe to toe with Sam Moore from Sam and Dave, but that's a whole long story.
And you're the best harmonica player in rock and roll. How's that?
Well, I wouldn't get too carried away here. I can get up there and make people think that I'm a really good player. So that's all that counts.
So one last question about this documentary from Cotton. When is the general public going to be able to see it? Has that been decided yet?
Well, no, like I say, we're waiting to see what other festivals we get accepted into. The festivals are a little leery about accepting a film that's already been viewed in certain markets. They like to be, they like to get it in the first go around of festivals. But I was talking to a film agent about the film about my brother, and he doesn't think that it would influence any kind of positioning in terms of moving the film forward and some kind of a streaming platform if we were to do runs of it in theaters, if there is a limited run. So it's not out of the question that while we're still trying to see what's going on in the festival circuit, that we would do a run or two here or there with the music followed by a movie. But right now we're just waiting to really see where we settle in with the festivals. And because sometimes it'll jeopardize your ability to get accepted at a festival if they find out you're already running in the theaters. But believe me, everyone will know. And for anybody who wants further information, it's www.jamescottonfilm.org, and all the information's up there. But we can't wait to show it in theaters, really, because we would take it to Chicago and Memphis and Nashville, New Orleans. We would take it to, and of course, Cotton was so big in New England. He's the only member of the New England Music Hall of Fame who never lives in New England. But he was so big here. So we would show it here, several places in New England, including all the Mystic Luxury Cinemas. And so, and like I say, we're planning on having some kind of a musical element, live music thing afterwards. The one we did at the Somerville Theater, we had George McCann, Marty Richards, Jeff Thompson, David Hall, Willie J. Laws, who's just a tremendous blues man, and Annie Raines and Paul Michel. So, and that went great. It's just 20 minutes. Everybody plays a song type of thing.
How long is the documentary?
90 minutes, right about there.
Wow.
You want to keep a documentary around there. For a while, Netflix was recommending 75 minutes. 90s considered about de rigueur. Anything over an hour and 45 is considered on the long side. But even so, if you look back at the history of documentaries that have won the Academy Award, I think there were 2 years in a row where each one was 2 hours long. So, as long as the as long as you don't, as long as you keep the audience's attention, that's it. And the Cotton film definitely does that.
Any thoughts of doing other documentaries down the road? Because you've had some personal relationships with other bluesmen too. Personal, I mean, really personal. I'll give you one.
Yeah,
John Lee is one I'm talking about.
yeah. I would consider it. Um, the main thing is that fundraising. Fundraising is a big job. Shooting the movies, editing the movies, promoting the movies. That's a ball. But the grind of being in the trenches trying to raise funds. I would if I made another documentary. The next time I would probably have some viable funding that I was relatively certain of before I would take a step. But certainly I wouldn't need enough to finish a film, but enough to get started and enough to be confident that I could raise the money to do the film. Like I say, we just got back from Kev Mo's house. We went up there and spent a day at his house shooting him for the film, and that was a ball. Well, you're hanging out with Kev Mo for a day, and that's not fun. Come on. Because we met back in the days when he was playing with Papa John Creech. He was in Papa John Creech band when he was a young man, and I met him back then. Of course, it turns out he's only 2 years younger than me. I thought I must have been 20 years older than Kev, but no. But his interview was just was like gold. It was just so much fun. All the interviews are great,
Yep. So isn't this one with you?
What's that?
So isn't this one with you? It's a great interview.
Yeah, well, any minute now I'll start telling my new favorite. My girlfriend calls me a stalker.
Yeah.
Well, she's not my girlfriend yet. Anyway, don't get me started. Come on, that's a funny joke. Come on. But anyway, it's always great to see you too, buddy.
Same here. All these years, it's been so much fun.
If I'd have known you were doing it through your house, I'd have jumped in an Uber this morning and showed up with my harmonicas over there.
Yeah, you got to come to the station and do that again.
Try and drive your neighbors out of town.
There you go.
Listen, your station is the most fun station to visit. And believe me, since BCN. BCN was always fun to visit because everyone there was just so wild and crazy and so hip, But your station it's a lot of fun to hang out at your station.
Yeah, and a lot of people come to see you. When you come, there's people there, always people there waiting to see you.
What am I playing? Where is here to play? What about, are they doing that summer thing in Lowell still outside?
Yep. Summer music series.
Come on. What's going on here?
We'll get you in there.
Yeah, I was on. I think once you play there 1 year, they wait a few years before they have you back. But that's a great thing in Lowell there. That's a really fun thing to play. But when am I going to be up in your area again? I'll have to figure it out and jump back on your show again. But
yeah, come on anytime.
And then I'll come up to your station and do something with you.
Yeah, I'd love to have you come in with the band sometime.
Yeah, good luck getting those guys up there. And
I have a picture of David Hall.
You got David Hall to come up there?
A long time ago.
Wow.
I got a great picture of him.
You the man.
With Cheryl Arena. She was in.
My God! Wow.
Cat in the Hat band when she was in Cat in the Hat.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. So Dave was there for a little bit with Matt, right? Matt Woodward.
Yeah, and I have a picture of the four of us, the whole band, from that period, and I mean that's classic. That was classic period of the radio station.
Yeah.
And then you came in and what was it, 85 or somewhere in there? And you played,
I sat in with somebody there, right?
Well, you had Allison Lassance and
Right.
Bruce Marshall with you,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that
and,
was a ball.
and
Like I say, I love going to that station.
every time you've been, it's been fun.
Yeah. Well, have me up again.
I will, and tell everybody how they can find out about you online.
Took me years to come up with this, but it's jamesmontgomery.com. I don't know where that came from. I don't know. But the new one started being listed under jamesmontgomerybluesband.com. But I talked to the guy and I said, look, that's what we're calling the band now because of the Butterfield record, but we have to also be able to get to it from jamesmontgomery.com. But everything's up there, and I'm updating the calendar today, a little later today, so we should be in good shape.
Very good. Well, thank you again for spending some time with me. It's always fun to talk to you.
No, thank you, and thanks for mentioning those dates. The one at the Bull Run, the one at Bridge Street, and of course the one on June 2nd, the all woman show. I'm not even on that show. I'm just promoting it, but that's going to be a blast. We got all the best women. Tony Lynn Washington, it was already booked, and someone else was.
And you're back at Chan's in June too, I see.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, June 27th, I think it is, or something like that. But anyway,
It's the 13th. No, June 11th in
oh,
on
yeah,
Chan's.
27, 11. I mean, what's the difference between that?
There you
Anyway,
go.
but anyway, so yeah, that show on June 2nd, we want to get some people out to that because it's for a really worthy cause, and it's going to be the best all women show you've ever seen in your life.
And that's the Kowloon and Saugus, Mass.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's early show too, 6:30. You'll be home, plenty of time to go to work the next day.
And that's outdoors, right? They have an
Yeah,
outdoor
yeah.
venue.
No, that's going to be safe and wonderful, and everyone gets home free, and we raise money. A portion of the proceeds are going to pancreatic cancer research, so that'll be good.
Very good. All right, James. Thank you again.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it immensely, and like I say, next time I'm moving in.
All right.
Okay, bye, buddy.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.